Welcome to GBN America. I'm Nana Akua. She could have been the world's most popular royal, Meghan Markle. She was loved at the start and a wonderful addition to the family, we all thought. A uniting force bringing the royals up to date with her mixed heritage, a role model for all regardless of race, because, well, she had it all. Good looks, an effervescent exterior, youth, energy, beauty and intelligence, the perfect blend, and money. Limitless amounts of money. But she didn't understand the sheer power of the monarchy. And that once you rub the glitzy surface off the trinket-clad Hollywood sign, all that glitters isn't gold, just illuminated, vacuous, empty lettering filled with nothing but hot air, hollow. By crossing the threshold to become part of the royal family, while she may have initially felt restricted, Meghan Markle could have shaped her own destiny. She should have realised that the global press speculation would never end, even if she wasn't a working member, and that by going on Oprah and selling her royal family down the river, she became one of us rather than one of them. And outside the royal family, the Sussexes failed to make money from Spotify, who pulled the plug. Their only real hit was on Netflix, was that reality show where they slagged off their own family. And now, in the vacuum that's been created by the King's health scare and Princess Catherine's absence, Meghan Markle has launched her own website. So she's pretty much back to doing what she started with the TIG. She's an influencer, dressed up as American Riviera Orchard to sell us butter, jams and birdseed, which sounds all very nice. She had the world at her feet and she threw it back. I get it, she had a dream to be amongst these stars in Hollywood, but sadly she failed to notice that whilst America don't have a royal family, globally, a king is the ace in the pack, and Hollywood stars are at best a 10 or maybe a jack. It's pretty simple, really. Family shapes you and reminds you of who you are. And if you're lucky enough to have one that cares, keep them close. They will ground you. They are the real people who will bring you back to earth when you fall for fakery. But sadly, in both Harry and Meghan's case, whilst they may now have a family of their own to shape, they have ruinously detached themselves from the loving, supporting mould from which they came. I'm afraid it will only end in tears. It's not a case of if, it's just when. Well, joining me now to talk about the Sussexes' life moving forward is royal biographer Angela Levin. Angela Levin, Meghan Markle, she could have had it all.
She could have had it all. I remember the King saying how happy he was that she'd joined the family and that she would understand them because she comes from a divorced background. I mean, he did it almost as a joke, but also it was also very kind and was accepting her in whatever way she was. But it is foolish, and you're absolutely right, because a couple of days ago, New York, page 6, said that although she keeps trying to do something, she always gets it wrong. And putting up one page for her new website, which you just mentioned the name of, was ridiculous because nothing's followed it. And that is because people don't want to put money into it. They don't, because they know what she's like, they know that she's very difficult, and they're not necessarily wanting to buy, you know, jam and tablecloths.
Birdseed.
And birdseed. And chicken seed.
And chicken seed as well.
Yes.
Yeah, she's gone the whole hog.
But there's nothing there. And actually, the timing of that, which was a few minutes before Harry spoke about his mother when she was giving out, that was her charity in respect of her passing, giving it to young people. She took away his spotlight moment. And I thought that was very cruel. And I wondered whether it had all been timed so it would come one after the other, because Harry gets very, very little to being number one. She takes over. But actually, unfortunately, for him, she did it really because she couldn't bear him to be in the spotlight. So
she might have done it because it's probably, in her view, maybe well-timed because he is in the spotlight. That could be another way of looking at him.
Oh, I think Harry's really outside the door when it comes to who's in the spotlight. I mean, we've seen this in Invictus Games, which could be in the UK in 2027.
Yeah.
And people don't really want it. From Canada, I get quite a lot of people asking me, can I do anything to stop the Invictus Games this summer? Yeah.
I think people are just sick to the back teeth of them.
No, but they think because they don't want Meghan taking over. She comes over, she does a speech, she does a second speech, she leads people down the paths, the winners, and they say she knows nothing about fighting and going in wars. And it was Harry's job. And I think they feel quite sorry for him and they're angry. So I don't think Harry's got anything to look forward to, really. And if this happens in the UK, it's going to be very, very difficult for the royal family.
Well, maybe, but some people would argue that it might actually unite them and bring them together because the family are now together. So, you know, maybe they'll talk to each other, maybe.
Yes, but, I mean, it's not in London, it's going to be in Birmingham.
Yeah, who wants to go to Birmingham?
Yeah. No, don't say that. But they've got a bit of money, but they haven't got much money to pay for it. And here again, the money's not there. And I think it's that extraordinary attitude that she knows better than everyone. She thinks of herself as globally
She's made such a mess of
famous. It is.
She's made a mess.
It is a mess.
I mean, if that were me, I would love to be royal. I'd have the crown and have all the clothes. I would shake as many hands. Wouldn't you? I mean, what would you wouldn't be like? I just want to go back to my boring old. What is it that she does? The tig and start.
No, I would have gone there, and I would
grifting.
think I need to do 2 years here to get to know what it's like, because it's not how I have ever lived. I don't understand the English royal family at all. And after I've got it, I'm going to go Zoom because they will know that I've really understood it all. I think that's what you have to do.
Well, that's with everything. It's like any job. You don't go in there and try and take over. You go in there, you listen, you're guided, and then you just take the bits you want, and then you can start moulding.
Yes.
She just, I think she was delusional. She thought she's been watching too much of that.
Did you say?
Well, yeah, actually, that is bad. But she had the image of Princess Ariel or one of those princesses, Disney princesses, and she thought that everything would just come to her in that way. And I think she realised it's a bit harder work than she expected. But then why would she want to get back to grifting, which is what she's doing,
Because
really?
lots of things have fallen down, haven't it? She didn't get a leading star part in a film. She hasn't got Netflix very keen on her anymore. Spotify's not keen. She couldn't even do that because it was me she was talking about, not asking interesting people what their lives were. It was actually telling them about herself. She didn't let anybody in. And a lot of things have gone very, very wrong. So she's gone back to the beginning because that's a bit fashionable at the moment. But it's fashionable among different sorts of women. I don't think it will work. Give it 6 months and she'll be on to the next thing. But she's always trembling for more and more and more and more.
And it wasn't necessary. She could have just sat there and it would have come to her. What about Harry, though? Because he doesn't really want to continue with any other commercial projects, as it looks as though he doesn't want to do that.
No, Harry is really keen on Invictus Games. That's been his thing that he has organised since 2014. But the point is, I don't think she lets him do anything that would actually spoil what she's doing. So he's a sort of second person who trails her around. He's not allowed to shake hands first. If you watch, she pushes him up the way and shakes hands. And he's doing very small things. He says he's doing mental health things, but I think you can't really take much from a mental health person who is still struggling. If he got over it and he would be all right, that would be a different thing. But in America, it's going to be difficult for him to know whether he's going to stay there or not. This is the other thing, because he put all the drugs he was taking in his book Spare.
Well, that was silly, wasn't it?
It was very silly.
Who would be so stupid as to do that?
It was very, very silly. I can't imagine why he did that, actually. It makes no sense, and it'll be very difficult for him.
Well, I think it will be. What about Prince Andrew? Because he seems to be sort of coming slowly back into the spotlight. But to be fair to him, he hasn't actually been charged with anything, so people need to know that. And he hasn't
been charged. No. And actually, we all saw him going down for Christmas at the church in Windsor. And I think you have to have the difference between a working royal and part of the family. And King Charles believes that, well, certainly the family needs to stick together. He's actually visited Charles a great many times and tried to boost him and be kind and nice. So I don't think you can say, well, now you can't come to church. I think that's that's what people are thinking. Oh no, he's now wanting to do things, but he didn't go over to shake hands with the many people who were on either side.
But no, maybe people would have taken their hands away, though.
Well, they might and they might not, or he could have gone and say hello, but he didn't do that.
I wouldn't have, because he's not been charged with anything.
He didn't do that. And I think the rules with the royal family is that the least important goes first, and the most important, like the king and queen, go last. So he went first. So in an ironic way, people say, well, they think of him as the lowest one, and he's leading them into the church. So I think we just have to tolerate that.
What about the Netflix scoop, though? Because apparently there's something coming out on Netflix about Prince Andrew, the scoop about that terrible interview that he did with Emily Maitlis.
Yes, well, I listened to I watched the interview there. I'm sort of bored with it. I know that the person who set it up, I met her a week afterwards, and she was telling me that it was amazing. He was telling her it was a wonderful interview, and would she like to be taken round the palace? You know, he's enjoyed it so much. He told his mother too that it had gone very well. He hasn't got the idea that it's wrong, and I think this will be really an unpleasant way, and a way of knocking the royal family. I think this is for non-monarchs who actually would like to kill off the royal family.
Well, to be honest,
I think we've had enough of it, actually.
Yeah. And actually, the world appears to support the royal family. They're absolutely in love with Catherine, she's incredible. So I don't think any of this trying to ditch the royals will go anywhere.
Yeah, I agree with you there. They won't. I mean, it's been astonishing how popular the king has become, and Catherine, because of their illness. Everybody loves us.
They love them. We love you, Angela. That is royal biographer Angela Levin. She wrote Prince Harry's biography, don't you know? Angela, thank you so much. Lovely to talk to you. Right, well, if you've just joined us, welcome. This is GBN America. I'm Nana Akua. More on the upcoming Netflix scoop, which goes behind the scenes on that Prince Andrew interview. Charles Ray, former royal correspondent for The Sun, joins me now. Charles, welcome. Good to talk to you. Now, how damaging could this be for the royal family? And is it actually a mistake to keep Prince Andrew as such a prominent member of the royal family?
Well, to be perfectly honest, Nana, he's no longer a prominent member of the royal family. He is no longer a working royal. He's had everything stripped that can be stripped from him. People, I think, make a big mistake when they see him at a family event like we've seen recently at Windsor, where they see him leading the royals out. To be perfectly honest, that is just the only reason he's leading them out is because he was first out the door to get down to the church. Now, normally what happens is the monarch and the Queen consort would always be last. It's always been the tradition that the monarch is last into an event.
Well, listen, Charles, I want to ask you about the whole situation very briefly with Meghan and the timing of the release of her website, that one page. What are your thoughts on how they are going to try and integrate? Because I suspect they will try and integrate back into the royal family, maybe when Harry, if the Invictus is in the UK in 2027. What are your thoughts on all of this?
I cannot see Harry and Meghan ever coming back into the royal family in any shape or any form at all. I mean, I think too much has gone under the bridge now with the animosity that there is certainly between the two brothers. Harry basically cannot be trusted because he tells Meghan everything, and so therefore. It's always going to leak out to some website somewhere in America.
I know, it's absurd, isn't it, all of that? I don't know what they're thinking. Now, there's loads of conspiracy theories about the royals as well. A poll carried out by YouGov actually shows that 51% of people have seen discussion of theories about Kate's absence online. 44% say that they haven't, whilst 5% were unsure. Have people finally moved on from the whole ridiculousness that surrounded Catherine? Because there's been a lot of apologies, haven't there?
Well, there have been a lot of apologies, and there should have been a lot of apologies, and there should be a lot more apologies mean, I was absolutely disgusted with everything that was literally on Twitter. Even ludicrously suggesting that she'd been murdered and that this was a stand-in coming in. I mean, to the point that people were looking at the leaves in the background of one picture and saying that it couldn't be right because the leaves aren't out. I mean, haven't they ever heard of evergreen trees? And then even in the excellent interview that she herself did, announcing that she got cancer, you've still got people analysing the background, that the daffodils aren't moving. That honestly, the bench, the slats on the bench on the right side are not the same as the slats on the bench on the left side. I mean, honestly, clearly some people have got an awful lot of time on their hands and they really need to get out a lot more. I think it's a great shame. It's a great pity that they have a card like this. And I'm glad that some of the more well-known people who were doubting what Catherine was doing have actually said sorry, and they should be ashamed of themselves for even going down that road.
But you do get the feeling that maybe in the sort of Sussex's household, they're probably thinking, well, now you got a taste of what we had to deal with, kind of thing. I do almost get that sense, or do you think that they did actually feel some sympathy towards Catherine?
Well, it's really hard to sort of try and work out what is actually happening in the Sussex household, generally. But I mean, to be fair to them, they did issue a statement out there, saying that they wished Catherine the best wishes and hope that she. I think the phrase they used was healing. I'm not sure what the hell that means.
Privacy.
But,
I think they put something in there as well.
Yeah, privacy. Well, she's got the privacy, and should have. It is quite incredible with the Sussexes what they're doing, and it's really hard to work out, why they're doing certain things. You just mentioned that website that she's developed. I mean, why you would bring out a website like that at this time or at any time is, just baffles me.
It's almost heartless. Why you're doing it, step back. It was like the Oprah interview, Prince Philip is dying, and you bring out and you go and slag off the family, step back. It was pre-recorded. They could have just said, look, Oprah, this is a serious moment. We would like you to delay that. They didn't do any of it, and it was almost like the vacuum that was filled. They went straight in, and they're doing it repeatedly, so I'm not expecting anything different from them. But this weekend, the Easter weekend, the King went out on a walkabout, which was lovely to see him. I was very concerned because he was shaking everybody's hand, and we all know the cancer treatment often means that it weakens your immune system.
Well, I was confused because as I understood it, the doctors had said, yes, you can go to the Windsor service as long as we take certain precautions. There wasn't the same number of people inside the St George's Chapel, and he sat a little bit away from the rest of the congregation, and then he comes out and shakes hands with everybody who's there. Now, I understand that he was desperate to be there because it's a very important event in the royal calendar. And I think he wanted to ensure that as many people could see him and get close to him as possible to show that he is on the road to recovery. But I was a bit concerned with all the handshaking, and I hope it doesn't come back to bite him on his royal bottom, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I just had flashbacks of Boris and COVID and just thought, because we shook hands, but we love the King. We pray that that doesn't come to be an issue for him. And it was actually really lovely to see him out, wasn't it? He didn't look too bad, especially given the treatment. He looked all right.
He looked absolutely fine. He was. I mean, he even at one stage was ticking off the Queen because she seemed to be taking a little bit longer talking, to the railway. So he's still got his sense of humour, and he's still got his, I'm the King. You must come along now.
Bless him. Yeah, and I think a lot of people, and there's been polls out saying that the King's announcement of his cancer diagnosis was good judgment, and a lot of people, I think 64% of the people said that actually it was the right thing to do, and that he really is something that what he's done is he's brought the royal family up and set a really good example. So, Charles,
yeah. Sorry. Go.
I was going to say about Camilla though, because you remember there was The moment when everybody hated Camilla. Now, wow.
Tell me about it. I mean, she has certainly proved to be, one of the best things that have happened to the royal family for, a good many years. There's no question about that. She's stepped into the breach. I mean, she's in effect got the shoulders of what's going on. She's got everything on her shoulders of what's going on. She's taking on even more work.
Yeah.
Has done, and everywhere she goes, she has got a cheery smile, a happy face. She says the right things. The king is battling away and doing well. She talks about Catherine, and she's fine, and she appreciates all the messages that have come out. So, she has proved to be, a remarkable asset to the royal family, given, the allegations that at one time she had bread rolls thrown at her in a supermarket car park. Well, that's the allegation. I mean, I remember her when she was the most hated woman in Britain. I've met her several times. I met her several times, and she's charming, she's witty, she's really nice to chat to, and she's certainly, when she's chatting to people, she has done her homework as to who she's chatting to. I'm not just talking about the sort of run-of-the-mill royal walkabouts. I'm talking about actual events. She knows who she's talking to and everything else. So I found it quite inspiring that she was doing so well, given that I spent most of the time chasing around her in the background, so to speak.
Well, bless her, bless her. Well, listen, Charles Ray, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me. That is Charles Ray. He was the royal biographer for The Sun. This is GBN America. I'm Nana Akua. For more information on the royal family, don't forget to head over to gbnews.com/America.